So, ladies and gentlemen, it's my pleasure now during the Quantum Business Show, Quantum Leap 2021, to welcome Nigel Apperley from Trustist and his co-conspirator, James Boyes, who are going to be presenting what Trustist is all about and how you can use it to the benefit of your business. So without further ado, Nigel Apperley.
Thanks very much indeed, John. So I'm just going to start sharing my screen and put the presentation over there. Just by way of background, I started in the internet business in 1999. I set a company up then called Internet Cameras Direct, which was is a retailer of digital cameras, and grew that from nothing to 20 million before I sold it to a French PLC and ended up working for them for a year doing international development. And then since then I've worked for some quite decent blue chip companies, and also had a further 2 exits, so 3 exits in total. 1999 was also the year when I started doing an MBA at Cranfield, and I remember the words of one of the professors there that said, you should treat marketing as an investment, not a cost on the P&L. And someone that's probably been spoken about quite a lot today, but Jeff Bezos once said, for every £1 of marketing spend that you have this year, it will turn into $100, or for him, it would turn into $100 of revenue next year. So that's not a bad return on investment, which is probably why he's the richest man in the world. Just talking about metrics as well, I mentioned ROI then. The metric that I've always sworn by throughout my career is CPA, so cost per acquisition. So how much does it cost you, either as a monetary amount or a percentage amount, to acquire that next piece of business. So this talk, we're first of all going to look at some of the success stories of people that have used marketing to come out of various crises over the years stronger. Then we're going to look at reviews and some things about the review market that might interest you. And then finally, a bit about how we might be able to help you if that's something that's appropriate. So it's great to be here. Thanks very much for having us. As John said, James is going to be helping me with this presentation. So if you've got any questions, could you put them into the chat on here, and then James will read them out to me at the end of the presentation. So yeah, we've been doing we've been in the review space now for 6 and a bit years, and the way I came to set the company Trustist up was I was head of e-commerce at Kwik-Fit. So we had 800 branches around the UK and a further 200 in the Netherlands, and I wanted to see whether there was a correlation between collecting and using reviews and revenue. So we tried Trustpilot, Bizarre Voice, Reputation.com and FIFO, and there was no correlation whatsoever. In fact, in some cases, the revenues went backwards when we started using some of those platforms. So then in 40 of the branches, I got the managers to start collecting Google reviews, and the results were astonishing. The revenues went up by 50% in 3 months. All we did with them was put them onto the Kwik-Fit.com website, and we also displayed them on the TVs in the various centres that we were doing the experiment in. So I went to the CEO and said, look, we're turning over 500 million at the moment. We could be turning over 750 million by the end of the year if you just let me roll this out across the estate. And he turned around and said, we can't afford to grow that quickly. It would damage the brand. So I was a bit miffed at that and thought, well, I'm going to do something with this discovery, and left and set up Trustist then, which was August 2014. And then since then, we've acquired about 2,500 clients globally, and the vast majority are in the UK, but we have got clients in North America, Australia, and some European countries as well. And they're just at the bottom of this screen are some of the organisations that we're quite heavily involved with. We have won a few awards, so it's my opportunity to have a bit of a boast here. So looking at what happened since March in terms of marketing, the spend on marketing fell from 2.3 billion to 1.2 billion, so almost halved, which was an astonishing number. Even companies that should have known better, Amazon and McDonald's, for example, cut their marketing spend by almost all of it, 97%. So just looking at recessions in history, you can see that during COVID-19, we went backwards by about 14.5% in terms of GDP. The only other recession in history that's been worse than where we are now was the War of Spanish Succession in 1706, so over 300 years ago. So we're probably heading to quite a dark place next year. So looking at about 100 years ago, the Great Depression in the 20s, there were two main players in the dry cereals market. One was Post and one was Kellogg's. Post stopped their spend on marketing during that recession or depression, and Kellogg's increased their marketing spend. When Kellogg's came out of the recession and things got back to normal again, their profits had increased by 30%. And apart from a few Americans that might be here this afternoon, who's heard of Post? 1920s recession. So there was a professor of marketing at the University of Minnesota who was very well known in the 40s and 50s, called Roland S. Vail. And he went back and looked at 200 companies that had been through the 1923 recession. And what he found was that those who spent more on marketing during the recession were actually 20% ahead when they came out of that recession. So that's quite remarkable. Companies who reduced their spend, however, were 7% behind where they'd been in 1920. So you might be seeing a common theme emerging here. The 1970s recession, a big winner there was Toyota. They didn't cut their marketing budget. In fact, they increased it slightly, but all the other manufacturers reduced their marketing spend. In 1976, Toyota was the top imported car maker in the United States market. Okay. Now on to the 1990s. McDonald's, like they have done this time, slashed their marketing and promotion budget. But two of their main competitors, Pizza Hut and Taco Bell, maintained or slightly increased their spend on marketing activity. What happened after? Well, Pizza Hut sales increased by 61%, Taco Bell's increased by 40%, and McDonald's went backwards by 28%. Amazon didn't always get it wrong in recessions. They launched the Kindle in 2009, which put them in a brilliant position to take advantage of the fact that ebooks overtook printed books for the first time that year. So moving on to reviews now. Search Engine Land is a massive US blog that did a survey of about 5,000 companies in 2019. And these are the three key findings from that survey. The first two of which I think it will resound with you, but the third one isn't so intuitive. So this is where you can appear to be human if you're not a 5 out of 5 business. So the sweet spot as far as reviews is concerned is 3.5 to 4.5 out of 5 stars. I'm going to talk about a few parts of Google now. So most of you, if you run websites, will have Google Analytics on your site, and it gives you data about where people are going and where they're which pages they're landing on, which pages they're leaving from. Google My Business, and if you only take one thing away from this talk this afternoon, is if you haven't got a Google My Business account, set one up tonight. It will change your business overnight. So Google My Business feeds into the second section of Google search results. The top section is pay-per-click or AdWords. The second section is the maps section. And the third section is organic search. I'm going to come back to Google My Business in a bit more detail. Google Search Console is something that a lot of our clients haven't heard of when they first sign up with us. But Google Search Console looks at how your site is behaving from Google's point of view. So it can really help when you're doing research for your SEO or search engine optimization campaign. And finally, Google Trends is a free tool that Google gives you or everyone, and you can get some data relating to your geography or search terms that is pertinent to your business. So just looking at Google Trends, this was research we did for a swimming lesson business that we look after with about 70 odd locations. So we wanted to know which was the most searched for term. Was it swimming class or swimming classes in the plural, swimming lesson or swimming lessons in the plural? And as you can see, the green bar and line massively trumped the others by a factor of about 10, in fact. So that would say to them and to us, you should be using swimming lessons in your search engine optimization campaign and also in your Google My Business listing. So this is an example of one of our clients, FunFest. They run after-school clubs predominantly. They're just about to set up a nursery business as well. They've just sold their first franchise. But we help them do the research for their Google My Business listing. Now, as you can see with this listing, there's no snack pack, as it's called, the three maps listings, because this FunFest are the only people that come back with this search from Kids Holiday Club Solihull. So when this type of search is returned, this is called a knowledge card. So the bit on the right-hand side here is the knowledge card. So we researched using Google Trends what they should call it. So they've got the three elements here. So you've got FunFest, which is the brand, Solihull, which is where they are, and then Children's Holiday Club, which is the third thing. And as you can see, if someone types in Kids Holiday Club Solihull, they also come first in organic search. And one of the things that we do for people, when we work with them, is we get them the stars in Google listings there, which increases the click-through rate, and then it's a virtual circle. So the click-through rate increases, so you move up the search rankings in Google. Obviously, you grab a bit more space in Google as well by having that additional line with the stars underneath the listing. One thing we get asked about a lot is how do you appeal a false or malicious review on Google? Most platforms, Google included, have a way of appealing bad reviews. If you have genuinely provided bad service, then Google, and for that sake, the majority of the other platforms, won't remove a review. There is some hype in the press about whether having a paid account with people like Trustpilot makes a difference as to whether you can get a review removed. But the way to do it is go into your Google My Business listing, and that's another good reason why you should have a Google My Business listing, because it enables you then to collect Google reviews. Find the review in question and then just tick flag as inappropriate. Then it will give you a list of reasons why you think it's inappropriate. From our experience, only about 20% of complainants get their reviews taken down by Google, but it's always worth doing. The other thing you can do if you've got a bad review and you've got the customer's details is to contact them, speak to them, and ask them to either increase the rating or take the review down. Responding to reviews is also something that we get asked about, and this is the advice that we tend to give people about responding to reviews. When I was working at Kwik-Fit, we had on average 1 bad review per month per centre. So with 800 centres, that was 800 bad reviews every single month. So it's quite a lot to handle. The way we used to handle that was to apologise for the bad service that they'd received, and then ask them to get in touch with our contact or one of our contact centres on a phone number. We'd always go back to them within 2 or 3 hours. We'd never leave it, unless there was a weekend in the way, we'd never leave it more than, like 4 o'clock was the cutoff time for responding to a review. So it's really important that you're seen to be responding to reviews in a timely fashion. Most review platforms, ours, Google, they all allow you to respond to reviews publicly. So here are some classic reviews that we've seen over the years that I'll just give you a few seconds just to read the first one. This is how not to respond to reviews. Something that became a bit fashionable about 3 or 4 years ago was this thing called review gating. Review gating is where you have a customer and then you go to them after they've experienced your service and you say to them, are you happy with the service you've received? And if they say yes, then you move them on to then leaving a review. And if they say no, you get them into a contact center and deal with them there. So they're not given an opportunity to leave a bad review. So there is one case study that we know of, which was a company back in 2018. And before Google worked out that they were review gating, they were shown in Google search results as having nearly 500 reviews and a rating of 4.1. However, after they got the Google penalty, that reduced down to 78 reviews and their rating went down to 3.9. So don't cheat, don't do review gating. This is something we did as COVID hit, which is just looking at where you might want to be spending your marketing money so that you come out of the COVID crisis in a stronger position. Some of the abbreviations on there might not be familiar. So I think PPC is pay-per-click advertising or AdWords. OOH is out of home, so that's posters on buses and bus stops and things like that. I think the rest is fairly self-explanatory, but where you want to be is top right, and review platforms sit very nicely there. And I know Sim's on this call as well, so business coaches, and Sim is my business coach, sit at the top right there too. You probably don't want to be doing too much of what's in box number 1, certainly at the moment, because, for example, with pay-per-click or TV advertising, you get the impact there and then, but there's very little long-term effect from it. Whereas podcast directories, social media SEO, all of those things last for a long time and are continually present. So a bit about Trustist now. So we're a review aggregator, and I'll explain a bit more about that in a second. So we bring reviews in at location level and at brand level across everywhere that clients have them. We then give people a piece of code which they can easily copy and paste onto their website. And if it's a WordPress website or a static HTML website, we can do that for clients. And then once that code is on there, any changes that happen, we can maintain it remotely. So then you start to get stars in your Google search results, and then we make it easy to collect reviews. And I'm going to talk a bit about QR codes and how they've come along this year and help massively with that. So just on the point of review aggregation, this is a hypothetical client who have been collecting reviews in Google, Facebook, Yelp, and Yelp. And the first branch has 50 reviews, the second one 40, third 30. So the piece of code that we would give to go on the page for branch 1 would show up in Google search results that that branch had 50 reviews and the 5-star rating, branch 2, etc. And then for all the other pages on the website, we do a second tier of aggregation. So we bring in any brand reviews like Trustpilot, for example, and then any of the reviews from branch level. So in this case, it's 120 reviews. The piece of code and widget that we give you that represents that can be put on all of the other pages on the website. So all of those pages can also get stars in Google search results. So we're a review platform, so I thought it would be helpful for us to show some of the reviews that we've collected in the last few weeks from clients. So Theo runs Swim Time, which is a swimming franchise. Tessa has a youth directory with about 25,000 businesses in there. So we've increased her web traffic just by putting the code on the website by 8% in just a month. Some clients have seen 1,000% increase, but that's extreme. Most clients would see 50 to 250% increase over the first few months. Jeff owns ProPrint 2K. And finally, Claire is the Chief Executive of Extra Help, as well as being the Chief Executive of the Approved Franchise Association. Right, this next slide, sometimes when I play this next slide, it's not possible to hear the voiceover. So don't worry if you can't hear it, you'll still be able to read the subtitles that are contained within the video. So Bradley's are the largest estate agent in the Southwest. So they cover some Devon and Cornwall predominantly. So if you've ever been down to that part of the world, you'll see the blue and yellow signs all over the place. And I won't claim that's just down to us. So when I'm talking about stars insertion, here we've got Bradley's as the case study here. What I mean is, so in the snack pack or Google My Business results, underneath the map, the 3 listings there, or 2 on a mobile device, you can see the listings there with stars really stand out. And they've been working with us for about 3 years now. And if you type in estate agents in Bovey Tracy, for example, they come top in both the snack pack and in organic search, and the stars are showing in organic search there too. And I don't, if I recall correctly, that page, or that page of results rather, for Bradley says there are no other estate agents with stars on that page either. One of the other things our platform does for you is, as well as getting you stars for your search results, if you're listed on directories, then we can get your listings on those directories stars in Google search results as well. We've only got 4 partners here at the moment, but we're in the new year, we're going to announce another 4 partners, so that list of directories is always growing. And I should just say about the video reviews as well. We're hoping to announce a partnership early next year so that people can use our platform to collect video reviews as well. Obviously, for younger demographics, they prefer to watch video rather than read text. So it's an important part of the market to be catering for. We've been working with Puddle Ducks for 2 or 3 years now, and they managed to get their Google My Business listing set up for franchise recruitment for them. And oddly, with this result here, there's an organic search result that comes above the snack pack. You don't see that very often at all, but you can see it's our client Puddle Ducks, and the stars are showing in the listings there. When they started using us, they had no traffic to their franchise recruitment pages, but they had a 1161% increase in traffic over quite a short period of time by just getting their Google My Business listing and reviews strategy sorted out. Also in organic search, they did particularly well. So the organic search stuff is the stuff on the left there. The impressions in Google, so how many times they appeared in Google search results, went up by 129%, and their clicks through to their pages went up by 38%. And I know from talking to them that they recruited about a franchisee per month off the back of that work. Another swimming franchise that we look after, if you look at the graph on the right-hand side, this represents the amount of clicks that 15 of their locations put our code on their location pages. And then we compared it to 15 location pages that didn't have our code on it. And you can see the traffic from the pages with our code on it was 4 times the amount of the ones without our code on it. So it really does make a big difference getting the stars in Google search results. The entire website, the graph on the left, had an uplift generally as well of about 8,000 clicks. As you all know, people weren't allowed into other people's houses during the first lockdown, and Time for You Cleaning, which is this client, weren't able to do any cleaning within their clients' houses, and so they set about collecting more reviews of their client base. And as you can see, that's paid real dividends for them, going from 3,500 clicks to over 5,000 clicks pre-COVID, and then once we were out of the lockdown. So how did we fare? We took our own medicine and started increasing the rate of reviews, and Sim, who's on this call, was responsible for kicking me into shape on that one. We had 99 reviews on March the 23rd, and we've got about 154, 155 reviews now. So it took us 5 years to get 100, and it's taken us 6 months to get 50 odd. It is quite hard to get clients to leave reviews, especially when you're in a B2B environment as we are. It's somewhat easier during when you're in a B2C environment, because you've got the through flow of customers, of course. I've talked a lot about our code, and the way that the magic sort of works is this thing called structured data, which sends back to Google a load of useful information that they really like to see. So that's how we make it work. If you've got reviews or testimonials on your website, this is a bit of research we did using the free tool that I mentioned earlier, Google Trends. People don't search for the word testimonials, so you should really be calling them reviews on your website. So if you've got a testimonials page, change it to reviews. You can display your reviews on your website, and most review platforms, us included, allow allow for that to happen. And there you can see 3 of our clients that that do just that. So Max Spielman is part of the Timpson group, as is Johnson's, Jeeves of Belgravia. They've just set up a barbershop chain as well. And then the business on the right, Cleans Ovens. And they've got we look after 96 of those in the UK and 31 in Australia. Another thing your platform could or should do for you is social broadcasting. So every time a new review comes into the platform, we automatically post out about that review if it's a 4 or 5-star review to social networks. So another thing that Google My Business allows you to do is this thing called a Google Post, and you can see an example of 2 Google Posts bottom right of the left-hand diagram or image there. If you could imagine, this looks even better on a mobile device because the knowledge card, the bit on the right-hand side, comes up first on a mobile. So you could imagine standing outside a restaurant on a Friday or Saturday evening when we're allowed into restaurants, that is, and just looking up their name on Google, and then you see that iconography. It's going to really draw you in. You probably won't even bother reading the reviews. You'll just walk in and ask for a table. Top right is an automatic tweet, and bottom right is an automatic post on Facebook. So the big thing that's changed this year is QR codes. So I was global head of e-commerce at Slendertone in 2012, and I went across to New York quite frequently, and we ran a campaign on the subway in New York. And we put a QR code on there, and we were told by the agency that helped us with that we would get 10 million people looking at our advertising campaign over the course of the 5 or 6 weeks that it ran. Out of those 10 million people, 2 people used the QR code. So absolutely no take up whatsoever back then. Whereas now, because of the NHS app that we should all have on our phones, I guess, whenever you go into a bar or restaurant now, you need to scan it. And so people know how to use QR codes now, and you don't need a separate app for any phones that have been out for the last 2 or 3 years. We also provide, and that's the back of my business card, by the way. So if I'm with a client that hasn't left us a review, I take that opportunity to say, turn my business card over and say, just scan that, would you? And leave us a review. We also have shortened URLs, which we use. So there's our URL for our review collection screen in the middle. And then finally on this slide, we white label the review platform for you. So it's not actually a Trustist review. In this case, it's a Johnson's review. And I'm going to show you the BBX review collection screen in a second. So looking at our largest client, Timpson, we've been working with them for 15 months. So where do people want to leave a review? So you can see the blue line there is either a Timpson's review. The grey line is a Trustpilot review, who've been working with them for 6 years, whereas we've only been working with them for 15 months. And then the orange is Google. So using the Timpson data again, the difference between their legacy review platform, which is Trustpilot, is that it's an open platform. Anyone can search out Trustpilot and search for a business on there, and when they find it, they can leave a negative review, of course. And human nature is that you're more likely to complain than you are to support a business. And I think going all the way back to my MBA days, they used to say 4 people would give you a good write-up and 9 people would give you a bad write-up. So as you can see, over the 6 years that they've been using Trustpilot, they managed to collect 3,800 reviews, whereas they've only been using us for 15 months and there's 14,500 reviews there. So a stark difference. The other thing about the reviews on Trustpilot is 25% of them are 1, 2, or 3 stars, whereas only 3.6% on the Trustist platform are 1, 2, or 3 stars. So a massive difference. So as I was saying, this is the BBX collection screen. So you've got the option there of leaving a review on the BBX platform, which is obviously our platform with the BBX badge over the top of it. Google or Facebook, no logins needed to leave one on the BBX platform, but obviously you need a Google or YouTube login to leave one on Google and a Facebook one to leave one on Facebook. So most businesses have had to become COVID secure in the last few months in order to continue to trade. And what better way is there to get customers to write about how COVID secure you are? And it's so much better to read it from a third party rather than just saying we're COVID secure. If you've got clients that can say it for you, it's much better. So just wrapping up now, some benefits if you were to use Trustist. And then if you'd like to get your camera, your phones out and scan that QR code, you'll see how it works, and that takes you through to the demonstrations page for us. So if anyone wants to have a demo of how our system might help you, then just scan that QR code or use the URL, and it will take you there. So James, do you want to take yourself off mute and just have there been any questions or?
Just while you're doing that, James, if you just collect some thoughts there. If anybody has got some burning questions, now's a great time to pop them in the chat. Just while you're doing that, just real quick, just wanted to make a couple of points. This show goes on till the 31st of January. So the exhibition zone will open proper next Tuesday, Wednesday. So today has been all about getting content out there so that you can go back and visit any of these sessions right up to the 31st of January. So that's one point. The second point is that Nigel spoke about marketing, and marketing is sponsorship, promotion, PR, advertising, marketing, all the web-based services. An interesting facet on this is an interview that I did with Kevin Byrne. And Kevin started Checker Trade out of his shed and sold it for 78 million quid. So he's got half a clue as to what's going on. And he made a couple of statements. And the first thing was, as Nigel suggested, that when times got bad, i.e. during the global financial crisis, he increased his marketing. The second thing he said was that he was consistent. And once he started marketing with something, he stuck with it. And then the third thing, which I thought was really interesting, is that he spends 80% of his marketing on his existing customers, which a lot of us focus on new customers, but he figured that if you really woo your existing customers and market them, they're more likely to give you a review and a recommendation. So that was an interesting piece. One last thing is that anybody, just quickly, if anybody, any PPC spenders running around, we've got a great client on BBX, which is called thisisbeacon.com. And so if you want some information on that, in essence, what it does is separate bot traffic from real impressions, and you only pay your PPC, obviously, on your real impressions. So it's one way they're finding about 50% of the charge that Facebook and those are charging you are for bots. So just a bit of bear in mind on that. James, over to you.
Yeah, I've had one through privately, just the one, and then Alex has made a little comment as well, which Nigel could probably speak to. But the question that came through is, when is the best time to ask for a review? I guess that's they've asked generally, but I think there's not really one answer to that, is there, Nigel?
Well, I think there probably is actually, and the best time to ask for it is after they've received your service. You've probably been to certain Italian restaurants on a Saturday night, and you've had superb service, and I'm talking about some of the chains of Italian restaurants, and then they'll give you your receipt, and they'll say, if you put this 300 character code into a website that's also 300 characters long when you get home, and we'd really appreciate it. And of course, no one ever bothers with that. So what I would do in hospitality, for example, is I would have an iPad and I'd hand them the iPad and say, would you mind just leaving us a review, or indeed handing them a card with a QR code on it there and then. People won't give you a review 3 weeks after they've used your service. They will give you a review immediately. We've got a locksmith client, nationwide firm of locksmiths, and they are prolific review collectors. They use Checkatrade, so where Kevin's from. They use Yell, they use us, and they use Google. And I think they use Facebook as well. And sometimes they get reviews from a client for all 5 review sources as they finished a job.
Yeah, amazing. So I think I don't think it was so much a question, but Alex Barton, who I've seen with Rose as well. How are you doing? Said that it's interesting when you were talking about the QR codes, that QR codes were around before barcodes. They've been a long time coming.
They have, and the interesting thing about a barcode versus a QR code is you can personalize it, as you can see on the screen in front of you, and you can put logos in there. You can make it different colors. But the most important thing about them is they can be viewed from a different angle rather than straight on, whereas a barcode has to be laid flat against a barcode reader. So they're much more versatile than barcodes.
Absolutely. So I think I'm just looking if there's anything else on there. Alex saying that they run an inbound marketing and automation. As you mentioned, your solution will be more effective for B2C businesses. We work with businesses in both B2C and B2B, and I'll be interested to have a chat. Okay, so that's more of a chat afterwards. That'd be brilliant. Yeah, absolutely. Which we can sort out. But yeah, there's no other questions gone in. Unless anyone's got a burning question now, feel free to pop.
I think that's absolutely great. Oh, sorry, was there someone then?
I've got a quick one to either of you. People get fixated about having 5-star ratings. Personally, when I see, only 5 stars, I think, are they real? Have you got any comments on that?
Yeah, I mean, it goes back to the slide about the search engine land survey, where they found businesses that were getting between 3.5 and 4.5 out of 5 were generating more revenue than the so-called perfect businesses with 5 out of 5. I think it makes you look a lot more human if you don't have 100%, so you're not 5 out of 5, which is why I'm asking all of our clients to leave us bad reviews at the moment, because we're 5 out of 5.
Well, if there's no other burning questions, if anything in the chat there, anybody that wants to catch up with you guys, James or Nigel, what's the best way that they can follow up with you?
Yeah, so my details are on the screen in front of you there. And if you've got your phone and you want to scan that QR code, then that will book a demonstration into James's diary, and he'll do a personalized deck for your business and look at the opportunities that might exist around Google My Business, Google Trends as well on that call with you.
Brilliant. Well, if there's nothing more, Nigel and James, thanks very much for your time today, and a great informative presentation. I'm sure the people that on this call live today, and for the ones that can watch it on the all-you-can-eat minutes follow-up right up to the 31st of January, can get back there and come to you. And then when the exhibition starts proper next week, they can come on to the stands, and all the stands have about 7 ways of contacting the stand holder. So when that kicks off next week and over Christmas, it should be an interesting time. So thank you very much, you guys, for the content today, and I'm hopefully that everybody got some great benefit of it. Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot, guys. Take care. Good evening.